Hello, my name is Ambassador Dr. Deepak Vohra. I'm at the world-famous Indian Institute of Finance in the nation's capital in Greater Noida, India, on the 11th of October 2019, and I have just spoken to a very bright group of young people about the recent developments in Kashmir. I'm wearing the uniform of a Sudan People's Liberation Army officer as a tribute to those brave sons and daughters of India in uniform who laid down their lives keeping Kashmir safe. The story of Kashmir is fascinating. As we all know, Kashmir was purchased in the mid-19th century by the then Raja of Jammu from the Sikh king for an amount of 75 lakh Nanak Shahi rupees, as it was called. And then he became the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir. 1947, the Maharaja was still playing around with the idea of independence. Now, the British would have been very happy with an independent Jammu and Kashmir because it abutted three critical areas for them in geostrategic terms. One was the Soviet Union, second was China, and the third was Afghanistan, which had remained neutral during the Second War. Interestingly, countries that were allies in the Second World War, the Soviet Union as well as the United States, Britain, France, etc., on one side fighting against Germany, suddenly they became bitter enemies. So Kashmir acquired tremendous geostrategic importance, and in the 1940s, we were still involved in what has been described as the Great Game. The British Empire, the Russian Empire, of course it later became the Soviet Union, vying for influence in this region. So when the Maharaja of Kashmir toyed with independence, the British then realized that they were not sure whether he would vote to be more friendly to the Soviet bloc or to the Western bloc. So they decided the best bet would be for Kashmir to accede to Pakistan, and a lot of pressure was put on him. When he refused to do so, then we had this story in October 1947 of tribal lashkars, the Kabilias as they were called, the Pathans from the northwest frontier, which did not abut Kashmir. They were asked to go in. It was a self-financing terrorist operation. They were told, whatever loot you can get, take it, it's yours. So they were brought to the border in Pakistani government requisition trucks, given Pakistani army rifles, and sent across the border to Kashmir. Pakistan could not send its regular army at that point of time in October of 1947, as the Indian army was much stronger, and they would have found it very difficult to fight with the Indian army. So the Maharaja, when he realized that his forces were no match for the Lashkars were stiffened with a lot of Pakistani army regulars as well as demobilized soldiers of the Indian National Army. They simply changed their uniforms, put on shalwar kameez and came. Now when they realized, the Pakistan government, that they couldn't send in the army because the Indian army was much stronger, they tried to send in these people. The Pathans, as usual, the frontier people, indulged in loot because they had been promised that they could take whatever they could find. They indulged in rape, and that gave some very valuable time for India to prepare just in case our assistance was needed. When the raiders were 10 kilometers from Srinagar, the Maharaja panicked. He was very frightened. He had heard stories about what they had done, and he signed the instrument of accession to India. India then, the next morning, to the surprise of the world, in a magnificent air bridge between Delhi and Srinagar, since the land routes from Jammu to Srinagar went through Pakistan, in this air bridge, we took in the Indian army. The Indian army then began clobbering the raiders, pushing them back. Pakistan realized that now that game was lost, so then they sent in their regular army, and there were clashes between both sides. But the opinion today of disinterested observers, neutral observers, that India had the upper hand. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the Prime Minister at that time, came under the influence of some Western countries. The Governor General of India at that time was a British person, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru agreed to refer the complaint of Pakistani aggression to the newly formed United Nations, even though he had no hope that they would be able to resolve the issue. On his own accord, without asking the Indian government, the British Governor General, while accepting the instrument of accession of Kashmir, which was identical to the other instruments of accession signed by the 550 princes or kings who had acceded to India. On his own, Lord Mountbatten, the British Governor General, said, "Great, I accept the instrument of accession, but later we'll refer this decision to the people." It was not required. And so this question of plebiscite or a referendum suddenly became the dominant narrative of the Kashmir issue. Over 72 years, the special article that we gave them, 370, Section 370, and its offshoot, 35A, which were meant to grant more autonomy to the state of Jammu and Kashmir than any other Indian state. We realized that over 72 years, this had led to corruption, to violence, to terrorism, to lack of development, to denial of women's rights, to many of the benefits that the weaker sections of society in other states of India were getting. These were being denied to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Having tried it for over 70 years, and remember that Article 370 had nothing to do with the instrument of accession. This article was negotiated between India and Sheikh Abdullah, representing the Kashmiri people. It was, some people believe, drafted by Sheikh Abdullah. It was then implemented through a presidential order. Now, the President of India gave this clause through an order to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. President of India was convinced that it had not served its purpose, so he revoked the article. What will happen now the way forward? People from other parts of India or international investors were unwilling to come to the state of Jammu and Kashmir because of violence, terrorism and so on, but more so because they could not acquire property there. They were not allowed to buy and own property. So investors from other states of India said, why should we go there? We might be booted out at any time. The Kashmiri educational system was in a mess. Thousands of Kashmiri students went to other parts of the country. And also what happened? Kashmir in the national perspective became the same as terrorism, violence, religious fundamentalism, bigotry. So people in other parts of India, and this is true, sadly, but this is true, whenever they met someone from Kashmir who said, I want to rent your house, or I want to do this or that, or start a partnership with you, people would be a little hesitant. That has now gone. And so the journey of Kashmir that was interrupted, the journey to development by Article 370, is now resuming. There is no question the future will be much brighter than what these years have been. So when people say the situation is not normal, my response is, what do you mean by normal? Violence, terrorism, murder, mayhem, rape, loot, is that normal? Or is normal the situation that prevails in other parts of India? The world understands what India has done. The world knows that Pakistan's sole interest was not the benefit of the people of Kashmir, but to keep troubling India. I'm quite sure, and many experts have told us, that Pakistan would be quite happy to take the territory of the state of Jammu and Kashmir without the people. That's hardly the kind of claims that they make, that their hearts bleed for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They have no locus standi in the matter. It was an internal affair of India, and India has taken an internal decision to withdraw the special status. Now investors from India, the first signs we are seeing, are already coming to Jammu and Kashmir. The state of Jammu and Kashmir was a state. Soon, as soon as the notification is issued, it will become two union territories, the union territory of Ladakh and the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. People are coming forward, industrialists, business people, to see what are the investment opportunities. Educationists are looking at opening branches of their institutions in the union territories of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. Business people are willing to go there. Traders will find it more active, and others who look for retirement homes will be very happy to buy property, own it, construct it, live peacefully in that magnificent part of India that today is the Union Territory of Ladakh and the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So to all those who are familiar with what has happened, or those who might not be totally familiar, the important thing to remember, the takeaway is, Kashmir acceded to me legally. Pakistan violated the territory of Kashmir. Now I am taking back what belongs to me. No one can fight with that. So if you get a chance, visit Ladakh, visit the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and see for yourself. The journey, indeed, the journey to development has resumed.